Okay, you've made it to step 2. I'm proud of you. Again, I'm humbled that you're still with me, even after something that seemed to be such a simple little quiz. Now, there's just a couple things we're going to do here, and we're going to identify your stumbling blocks. Now, what in the world is a stumbling block? And it's pretty much just what it sounds. It's something that's holding you back. And you're like, how can I take a list such as this, and how can there just be a simple descriptions on there that's holding me back? And the answer is probably more obvious than you think. Um, and so let's just take a look at some of these answers. Remember, question 1 was, how do you identify yourself? Okay, remember that? How do we identify ourselves? And many people that I've talked to, they will say something like, well, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a fireman, I'm a lawyer, I'm an attorney, they identify themselves, something along those lines. I'm a teacher, you know, and that's okay. That's how we identify ourselves. Um, did you put down something similar? Or did you maybe put down something a little different that we're going to come back to? And if you did, that's good. But most people, will identify themselves along this line. Now, question 2 said, how do you feel your best friend will describe you? That's kind of obvious, I guess. I understand that. But many people will say something like, um, well, they would think I'm friendly, or they might think that I'm shy, or they might think that I'm confident, or that I'm, excuse me, a big cut up, Fruit Loop, as a wonderful friend of mine said. Um, might say I have a sense of humor. You might say that I'm really serious. Okay? And that's how your best friend's going to describe you. Well, what about your enemy? That was question 3. How does your enemy describe you? Well, probably that you're hateful, that you're mean, that you're rude. Let's just go on down our list of adjectives. That's someone who doesn't like you. Maybe you're untrustworthy. Maybe you lied to them on purpose or not on purpose, and therefore they got hurt, so you're hurtful. Do those things happen to us? Unfortunately, we do. We make mistakes. We do those types of things. Um, maybe you stole something from them. I don't know your situation. I'm just kind of throwing things out here. I'm not saying you, but maybe there's a situation that your enemy now hates you or dislikes you. Maybe hate's a strong word, but they're going to describe you in a negative light. Okay. Now, question 3 is where it gets interesting, because we're all here and we're all looking for something. Okay, like we said earlier, we're all trying to reach a certain level of satisfaction in whatever that may be, or to help someone, excuse me, find help. Okay, so what is that going to look like? How would you recognize that you've arrived? Okay, what's that going to look like? Did you say something like, a lot of people say I'll have kind of like that inner peace, or that they'll feel happy, or that they'll feel, you know, exuberant, or they'll feel like dancing, or what are you gonna, how are you gonna be? How did you describe yourself? Now, obviously, you can't give me your answers over the internet, so we're just gonna go with what a lot of people have said, and that's that inner peace, um, relaxed. I've seen people put relaxed, at ease, uh, confident, self-assured, along those lines. So now here's a tricky one. How would you expect your best friend to describe you? Now those answers are going to vary. Those answers have varied a little bit more, but they're still going to describe you in a way. Maybe you're going to be more confident than they would have described you previously. Maybe you're going to be more rude. Did you ever think that reaching your goals and having that success maybe will decrease your humble scale a little bit and you may have more confidence and arrogance? Is that a possibility? I've seen that in a couple of little exercises. So how did your best friend describe you? Look at those characteristics of what you've written down. Okay? Now, how is your enemy? How is your worst enemy now going to describe you? You know, are they going to be jealous? Are they going to be spiteful? Are they going to be revengeful? Um, you know, what's that situation? Okay, so are your answers similar to what we're talking about? I mean, are we on the same page? Because no matter what your answers are in those descriptions, there's something even more important I want you to see. Go back to question 1. Well, first of all, let's look at questions 2 through 6. Notice that everyone in our life, friends, semi-friends, best friends, enemies, describe us by characteristics, by actions, by emotions, by things of our inner self. Do you see that? No matter what your answers are, that's what you see on the page. Most people. Yours may be a little different, but you can see that there's a majority of emotions written down as answers to questions 2 through 6. Now, how did you describe yourself in question 1? You described yourself, the majority of you, I guess I should say, describe yourself by your occupation. You describe yourself by what the world thinks you are. Are you a husband? Are you a wife? Are you a doctor? What's your occupation? Are you successful? Are you things that the world defines you? So see, we define ourselves by what the world says. And others define us by interactions, by inner feelings, by emotions, by spiritual things. So see, our problem is that we have a fleshly attitude toward ourselves. Yet we're looking for fulfillment from an emotional, spiritual problem. And you can't fix a fleshly problem, or you can't fix an emotional problem with a fleshly answer. So no matter what job you have, no matter who you're married to, you can't change wives and be happier. You can't change husbands and be happier. It's how you are and how you see them and how you react to them. Your spiritual condition, your emotional condition creates your physical. Your physical does not create your emotional. Does that make sense? You can't get a fleshly, worldly answer to an internal, spiritual problem. That's what I want that's the whole purpose of this exercise, is to get you to see that the world tells us who we are. And we define ourselves by external things. But yet we crave internal, spiritual connection. We are emotional creatures. Does that make sense? That's the epiphany I want you to get from this exercise. I want you to think about that. I want you to contemplate it. And go back over those questions and test what I'm telling you to see if it makes sense. And then when you do, when you come back and you go to step 3, I'm going to give you the secret. The secret I've been talking about from the beginning of this process to how you can rectify and you can be who you are called to be today. Okay? So with that, again, this is Kevin Wilson with the Moriah Center saying thank you, and I'll see you very shortly with the secret you've been waiting for.